Greetings one and all, my name is Lancer and welcome back once again to Fate Zero. We will be watching episode 11 today. Now, I know I've been watching 2 episodes at a time usually, but this one's a special case. Well, I mean, I guess more importantly, I am just skipping one episode, that being episode 10, which if you're familiar with Fate Zero, you could probably understand why I'm skipping it. When it comes to Fate Zero, I think, again, I've praised it forever. It's a perfect series. Episode 10 is always the one but even still, I think episode 10's a fine episode. It's just for the sake of the story and the progression, it kind of just halts stuff, especially when we get to episode 11, which we'll be discussing today, and watching. Last time on Fate Zero, we covered episodes 8 and 9, which dealt with the battle between Kiritsugu and Kaineth, and then going into episode 9, delving more into Lancer's backstory, Diarmuid's story, and then Salahu now becoming the master, at least on paper, to Lancer, but he is still loyal to Kaineth. Then of course some more back and forth with Saber and Kiritsugu. Episode 10. Pretty much what episode 10 is it follows Rin, who is the daughter of Tokiyomi and Aoi Tosaka, which if you're familiar with Fate Stay Night, she is a prominent character in Fate Stay Night, and if you know me at all, she is probably my best waifu, you know, when it comes to the tsundere. She's queen of tsunderes, aside from maybe Taiga. You know, it's her during this time, like what she's been up to. It ties in with like Ryunosuke, because you know, she's a kid, she gets kidnapped by him, she fights him for like a second and actually beats him, not that he's a strong person, but and then it also ties in with Karia because he saves her at the very last second from being killed by one of Castor's starfish. So it's cool kind of tying into him because we have not seen Karia since like the start of this series, and he was like one of the most prominent stories in the first episode. It's just a reminder that Karia is fighting for Sakura and all that. But either way, we're gonna be jumping into episode 11, which I grapple with myself. From a story perspective, I'm just not gonna say too much. All I'm gonna say is top 3 episode. It deserves having an entire episode dedicated to just this episode. It's also longer. I never knew that. It's actually like 5 minutes longer. So I'm really giddy to talk about it because there will be a lot to talk about with this one episode. So let's just get right into the episode. Seba, this mansion has seen better days. Ryder.
Irisfield. And that unscrupulous appearance of his.
Unscrupulous.
The enemy is likely Ryder.
Yeah, enemy. I would miss this opening. We're almost done with this first season.
Hello, Saber.
I mean, the door was wide open.
Why aren't you wearing your fashionable clothes like I am tonight?
Fashionable.
I've come to drink. What else does it look like I've come here to do?
Yeah.
Stand like a statue and show me around this.
Yeah, if Ryder wanted to fight, you'd know. Honestly, you figured they'd move at this point since they were attacked. Oh, this garden, man. It's an iconic set piece.
The Grail is said to be fated for the hands of the one most worthy to possess it. If the heroic spirits can agree on our rankings, then the matter can simply settle itself.
The fact that they're just sitting on the ground as well.
Oh.
I kind of wish they just had a drinking contest. I feel like Saber would be like Legolas, or like an elf just immune to drunkenness.
You might consider this a Grail dialogue rather than a Grail war.
Title
A
drop.
matter of who among us is most suited to
Among
claim
Us?
the
That is the title of this episode, Grail Dialogue.
I believe that is quite enough nonsense. You mongrels.
Another king approaches.
I saw him in town, so I thought I might as well invite him to our little gathering.
I kind of wish we saw that. Like, I just bumped into him at the market.
Why don't you just relax yourself?
Forgot waivers here, too.
Start with a little drink.
What is this disgusting swill?
This cask was among the very best I could find at the city marketplace this afternoon.
You are pitifully ignorant of true drink, stupid mongrel.
Stupid mongrel. A drink of the gods.
Oh, magnificent!
Even she's surprised. How old is that drink technically? Because, you know, Gilgamesh, the Epic of Gilgamesh, it's a very old story. Tens of thousands of years old.
This alone should indicate which among us is the greatest of kings.
Stop. I hate that I just can't hear that phrase the same anymore.
The Holy Grail is not a drinking cup. First, we must hear what wish you would have the Grail grant.
Technically.
Win it.
All of this world's treasures, without exception, trace their origin to my treasure house.
Then I assume that means you once held the Holy Grail. You could identify it by sight.
No. Huh? Do not consider me as you would a lesser being. The amount of wealth in my treasury long ago surpassed my own knowledge. But that the Holy Grail is a treasure also means that it belongs to me. They who would take it for themselves.
Okay. His words are so... When you break it down, it's like, huh? What are you saying? But at the same time, it's like, but you're based because you're the king of everything, but not Jesus.
Wait a minute. You're gonna be stingy?
Fool.
I love that Gilgamesh, Saber, like they're just in their armor, but Ryder's just t-shirt and jeans.
If you were to swear fealty to me, I could lend you a grail or two.
Or two.
Whenever you felt the need for one.
I want to give a shout out to editing this episode, because how am I going to cut all this down, man? There's just so much stuff to this.
On what morals and reasoning are these principles of yours based?
It is the law. My law, which I set down as the rightful king.
Living by one's own law is the epitome of kingship.
Right and wrong are irrelevant. You break the law and I will punish you. There is no place for discussion.
Which means that all we have left to us is to meet on the field of combat.
It's one of the best things about this. Like, we've got the King of Knights, King of Conquerors, King of Heroes. It's fucking awesome, man. It's like, what can I say? I'll wait till they get further into their dialogue before I discuss more. Saber's quiet, though.
What makes the Grail so important to you?
I mean, it's the same with everybody, no? It's a wish.
Reincarnation.
What? Wasn't your goal supposed to be world conquest? Ah!
As if I would leave the conquering to some mere cup.
Yeah.
Conquering the world is my dream to make true. I wish to live as flesh and blood within this world in which I find myself. Thus it begins, then proceeds onward, and finally is finished.
I just love Jameson Pierce, man. Thus it begins, then proceeds onward, and finally is finished. Yes, time.
I shall take great pleasure in killing you myself.
You don't have to remind me of the obvious.
That is hardly fitting of how a true king should behave.
Oh? Well then.
Finally speaking
Let us
up.
hear what you would ask of the Grail.
With the omnipotent wish-granting device, I shall avert Britain's fate of destruction.
Well, I mean, Britain turned out fine in the end.
They're having a drinking party of all things?
How do you judge the relative strengths of Ryder and Archer?
Ryder may very well possess a trump card that surpasses the Gordius wheel.
Even if Assassin is defeated, as long as he can gauge their relative strengths, our objective will be accomplished. Use a command seal to give Assassin the following order. Be victorious no matter the cost.
Kind of a waste of a command seal. With my command seal, I order you, win, okay? Man, if you really look, it's like the Hassan in Fate Zero, it's like he had the possibility to be OP. It's like he's Gilgamesh, but instead of a bunch of swords, it's a bunch of people. Well, I mean, Gilgamesh has an infinite storehouse, and there's not exactly an infinite amount of Hassans. How do you counter something like that, though?
Did you just say that you would change fate?
That is why I cannot allow it. And that is why I regret it. Why I want to alter that outcome. Archer, what's so amusing?
You call yourself a king, and are praised by all as such? And yet you feel regret?
Such a dick.
Surely you do not really mean
Here we go.
that you would erase the marks that you yourself have left on history.
I do. My beloved country, to which I devoted my whole life, was destroyed. Why is my sadness about that strange?
Did you hear what this little girl who calls herself King of Knights said?
I like that it's like Ryder and Gilgamesh, it's like they share similar beliefs and ideals, but they go about expressing them obviously very differently. Whereas Ryder, he's very loud, expressive, flamboyant even. Whereas Gilgamesh is just like so shrill and matter-of-fact and mocking even, but they're on the same page.
A true king should be willing to make any sacrifice.
You are wrong. The king does not devote himself. It is the nation and the people who must devote themselves to the king. You have reversed the concept.
What? Those are the words of a brutal tyrant.
Just so. We are heroes precisely because we are tyrants. If a king regrets his rule, or regrets the manner in which his rule came to an end, that king is nothing but a fool, worse than the tyrant you disdain.
Oh man, again, it's this episode which is the prime example of you don't need action to make a good story. Pretty much the entirety of this one episode is this conversation. And oh my god, just that there. Saber's fighting both of them just, without using a weapon.
Your reign ended with all your heirs slain, and your great empire broken up by civil war. Do you mean to say you have no regrets about that end?
None at all. I shall mourn it and shed tears over it, But
I shall never regret it.
let alone undo it all. Such an act would be an insufferable insult to all those who fought and bled and died alongside me.
A just rule, guided by just laws. Those are the true duties of a king. Kings are martyrs to their ideals.
That is not the way a person should live.
The ethical side of me obviously wants to agree with Saber, but like the realist side of me obviously agrees with Ryder and Gilgamesh. Oh, so it's like, if you ever want to sell Fate Zero to somebody, do you want to see Alexander the Great lecture King Arthur about how to be a king, all while Gilgamesh sits by and laughs at it all? I mean, it's an interesting thing with this that they keep trading. It first started with Ryder and Saber talking, and then Gilgamesh, then it was Ryder, Gilgamesh, Saber and Gilgamesh for a little bit, and now we're back to Ryder, Saber. It's never all three of them involved in the conversation. It's only one-on-one, which is interesting.
You, who became a ruler, only to satisfy your endless greed.
A king without greed is even worse than a figurehead! You said you would martyr yourself for your ideals. In life, you must have been something akin to the purest of all the saints. A proud and noble
This
figure,
monologue.
at the very least. A king must be greedier than any other. He must laugh more loudly and rage for much longer. And why the flames of aspiration, to be just as the king is, can burn within his people.
God, this with the music.
Proud king of chivalry may have indeed saved your nation and her people once.
However,
Surely you must know what became of those who were saved by you.
yeah, just that sinking realization. That shot.
You may indeed have saved them.
But you never let them.
You spent your life enraptured by a false idol of a humble king who always serves others.
Just a little girl.
I...
She can't even... She can't even retort, because it's like, he's right. She's not the king of knights. She's the king of chivalry, which is respectable, but just in general, like, this obviously like can tie into real life as well. Do you want a ruler to be someone who gets shit done, or someone who constantly is at the behest of the people? It's like Ryder said, it's like greed, though it's one of the deadliest sins, it's both a powerful weapon and a powerful tool as well. It's like a necessary tool to be a ruler. I mean, again, like, not that this ties so much into nowadays with, because obviously in the times that they ruled, like, you could just muster an army and just conquer and be praised for it, you know, that's just how life was. I mean, you could argue that not like much has changed nowadays, but it's that monologue, man. Man, when I was in like my drama classes and stuff and I had like monologues I had to do, I would have loved to have done this monologue. It's that just one scene where it's just, this is Fate Zero, man. This is how you write shit. The rest of Fate Stay Night does not have this level of character building. I'm sorry, like, not even close. Or it's just going into the future and stuff. It's just like Saber really is a child compared to these two. And by all means, she was, like, you know, sword from the stone, like, at a child. It's like, all right, you lead Britain now. Can't really blame her for the country eventually falling, but at the same time, Ryder, he's right. And just ending it with that, just, you're just a little girl. That's what she was, but at the same time, it's what she never got to be. She never even got to be a girl, period. Like, she had to pretend to be a man. In this version, obviously. I love that Gilgamesh as well. It's like, you don't even see him throughout that whole thing, but you could just envision him just smiling throughout it all. And now he chimes in.
Your anguished face was a rather lovely sight. It was the face of the virgins who showered me with flower petals in my bed. A woman after my own heart.
Bastard!
Notice that that's what makes her snap, not what Ryder said, because it's like, deep down, she knows he's right. It's just Gilgamesh just coming in, again, with that mockery. That's how he expresses his kingship, at least this version of Gilgamesh. Kill him. Like, it would have been that easy. All the assassins.
Tokiomi. What a shameful cur.
Even he doesn't agree.
Any who would speak with us, come forth and take a cup. This drink is as your blood.
On his shirt, man. That's never gonna wash. That's wine.
As I said, this drink is as your blood. If you insist on spilling it here tonight, then so be it.
A little bit of action to round out this episode.
Here is our banquet's final question. It is, does a king always stand alone?
The king must indeed be alone. Always!
No, no. You obviously don't understand. I suppose I'll just have to show you both right now.
And the fact that she answered the question, it's literally teaching her. Here we go.
A reality marble? That's impossible. A mental image materialized into the real world.
We talked about reality marbles a little bit last time with how Kiritsugu who can kind of do one, but this is the real deal.
My glorious armies once rode across these sands. I can make this world as real can ever be, because it still exists deep within our hearts.
Bro,
Behold my endless army!
chill.
Their souls offered to the current world as heroic spirits of old. And still, these legendary heroes pledge their loyalty to me.
They're all servants.
My bond with them is my greatest treasure, the ultimate noble phantasm that I possess.
Ionian
Hitzairi!
Ionian Hitzairi. Oh, dude. Oh, this never ceases to amaze me.
It has been a long time, partner.
I think how massive that horse is.
A king must live a grand life and embody his people's image of admiration.
Follow this man to the end of the earth.
The king is not alone, for his will equals that of all who would follow him to his ultimate glory combined. Shall we begin our battle, assassin? Annihilate them!
Notice how Gilgamesh is still sitting. You can't beat that, man. Or at least they can't. Pure chaos. That easy. No, that's a king. He has exposed his trump card, though. That's what Tokiomi wanted.
I suppose that will do for today.
I have not finished.
You may keep silent. Tonight was for a conversation amongst kings, but I no longer recognize you as a king, Saber.
Damn.
You'll someday lose even that modicum of pride you retain as a heroic spirit.
Mic drop. Fucking hell, he's one of the best servants ever.
Pay that base mongrel no heed, Saber. Your agonizing pain and terrible sorrow, as you bear a burden of kingship that is too heavy a weight for any, is quite a splendid and marvelous thing to look upon.
He just wants her to suffer. Such a bastard, man.
There was once a knight who left Camelot, claiming the king didn't understand how others felt.
Who was that knight, huh? I wonder. Fuck! Oh my god, that episode is so good. It's so dear God. Oh, that episode was even better than I remembered. Well, that was episode 11 of Fate Zero. Wow, that I always had that as like my top 3 episodes, but man, just watching it fully just like this, because it seems just so unassuming as well. The first couple dialogue scenes, you think like, oh, it's probably gonna just be this, but no, the whole like first 3/4 of the episode is just that one dialogue scene, and then the last 10-ish minutes are just that fucking bombshell of just Ryder having a reality marble. I think this is the perfect episode of anything, not just Fate Zero, but yeah, wow. Just because there's so much to it. Like, where do I even start, man? I pretty much covered everything during the reaction, but this was just the ultimate character building and honestly character deconstruction for Saber. Honestly, like, the weakest link there was Gilgamesh, but at the same time, like, he needed to be there. Like, it was a Banquet of Kings. I guess the alternate title for this episode. Grail dialogue, Banquet of Kings. The ideals clashing. When you say the Fate Zero Clash of the Ideals, this is what most people will think of as this episode. It does make you wonder if there was anyone else there. If you swapped out any other servants, what would Lancer say to Ryder? Even though like he's not a king, he was always a knight. I feel like Lancer would back up what Saber talks about. In that case, they would both be wrong, in Ryder's eyes at least. But yeah, the Ionian Hitzairi, Ryder's trump card. There always is that with servants as well. It's like they have their noble phantasms, you know, their weapons. For example, Saber has Excalibur, Lancer has his lances, Ryder even just has his chariot. You know, what represents the class for them? But there's always just that ultimate move. You know, we saw it with Ryder, his reality marble, and even the assassins, like I guess their ultimate move is like having all the assassins there, and they just got fucking wiped off the face of the earth. I love just the detail, just that one that just gives up. It's just like, how do we fight this? Simple answer, you don't. At least not if you're assassin. But Tokiomi said he wanted to maybe bring out whatever that ultimate move may be, and well, it worked. But now Kirei has no servant. So how will that affect the story going forward? Because he's not a master anymore. Officially now. now that Assassin's like gone. I can dedicate like a whole video, well I guess I did. That's why I didn't really want to do like the Rin's adventure episode with this whole video can just be this one episode. But even still, like there's still one more episode that we have to cover in the future that, I don't know, maybe after watching it fully, I don't know if it still might be my favorite episode. But this one obviously easily takes the second place. But yeah, we're now gonna go into the finale of season 1. Again, even though I see this all as just one 25 episode series, obviously most sites and whatnot have it divided as season 1 and 2. It's amazing. But either way, I can talk about it forever. But I think I covered most of the important points. But either way, this was my reaction to episode 11 of Fate Zero. Join me next time for episodes 12 and 13, as well as everything else that will be coming out soon. So until next time, I'm Lancer. Thanks for watching.